If you've been living under a rock, LeBron James is a Laker. The King agreed to a 4-year, $153.3 million contract with the Lakers on Sunday. Now, according to Yahoo Sports, LeBron had zero contact with head coach Luke Walton during the recruitment process, and as of Wednesday, the two still have not met. Max, what does it mean to you that LeBron reportedly hasn't spoken to Luke yet?
It means Luke Walton is not Magic Johnson's guy and certainly not LeBron James's guy. But that doesn't mean that they won't choose to continue with him as coach and support him. He's just going to have to prove it to them. And it clearly means they have questions. I think Luke Walton is an excellent coach. As someone who was doing drive time in L.A. during all of this, and we're ESPN flagship state, the home of the Lakers, a broadcasting home of the Lakers in L.A., I was psyched when they got Luke Walton. That was a very good move. Let's not forget that his record as interim coach of the Warriors, and you can say what you want, anyone could coach the Warriors, was better than Steve Kerr's. Luke Walton is a promising, young, bright coach who even people like Kobe Bryant can tell you kind of always been a coach, even when he was a player. Very smart student of the game and good communicator with the players. But nevertheless, he predates Magic Johnson, and clearly he predates LeBron James. And I am sure that part of Magic Johnson's pitch to LeBron James included the fact that LeBron James would have a lot of say in what goes on, including personnel, including coaches, etc. And why wouldn't Magic want that? Magic Johnson was and is a basketball genius. And so is LeBron James. And Magic Johnson is also an extremely successful businessman, something else LeBron James wants to be, which indicates that Magic is a basketball genius, but also just a very high functioning, at the very least, cerebral guy, as is LeBron James. So their decision making is important. And the fact that LeBron James would have influence is important. It's actually the right way to do things. And I think what this suggests is the jury is out on Luke Walton. Stephen A., not that he might not get their support, but I don't think he has it yet.
Well, the bottom line is that Luke Walton was a Jeannie Buss, Jim Buss, and Mitch Kupchak hire. It wasn't Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka. You're right about that. But I'm going to throw a wrench in all of this. And I want to preface my comment by saying this is not inside information at all. What I gave you about Damian Lillard and Kawhi Leonard and LeBron and all of those guys over the last week or so, that's inside information. This is just an opinion. I would keep my eyes on Phil Jackson. Yes, I said it. Phil Jackson. The same Phil Jackson that offended LeBron James and his crew by calling them a posse, minimizing them, all of this other stuff. I would keep my eye on Phil Jackson. Here is why. Number one, Luke Walton, 2 seasons, still hasn't made the playoffs. I agree with you, Max. I love the job that he's done. I love the development of players under him. I'm a fan of Luke Walton's. I think he should stay on board. But he wasn't Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka's choice. Point number one. Point number two, when Kobe Bryant and I talked on my radio show a couple of days ago, Kobe spoke to LeBron during the playoffs. Kobe spoke to LeBron to welcome him to the family once LeBron had agreed to come on board to L.A. Kobe Bryant perhaps is one of the most unforgiving people in the world if he feels betrayed. Let me tell you that right now. He don't play. All right? You recall that book that Phil Jackson wrote about him, throwing him under the bus, calling him uncoachable, and all of this other stuff when Phil wanted to profit off of that stuff by writing a book after, he had supposedly retired from L.A.? Who forgave him? Kobe. Why? Because Kobe was trying to win championships, and being coached under others wasn't going to cut it. If Kobe Bryant can forgive him, let's transition to LeBron James. Did you see what Dan Gilbert wrote about LeBron James in 2010? How awful that letter was? And look what LeBron did. LeBron not only left for South Beach, he came back because he said, it's bigger than my relationship with him. The city of Cleveland, fans in the Northeast Ohio area, the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise and its surrounding areas, all of this other stuff, that usurps whatever beef is going on between me and Dan Gilbert. And that stance by Dan Gilbert, that letter, was far, far, far more incendiary than some backhanded slap that Phil Jackson gave to LeBron and his crew. So let me be very, very clear. If LeBron can forgive Dan Gilbert for that stuff enough to move on and do business with him, I'm quite sure if Luke Walton runs into some problems and changes needed to be made, it's certainly plausible that Phil Jackson could get a call. From whom, you might ask? Not just from the wonderful Jeannie Buss, his ex-fiance, who he was sitting next to when Shaq's statue was revealed, and I was right there, but also a guy like Irvin Magic Johnson, along with any basketball mind who recognizes no matter how inept, how moribund, how disgraceful, how negligent Phil Jackson's leadership was as president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks, no one would dare question his greatness as a head basketball coach in the NBA, particularly when it comes to stars.
Oh, wait a minute.
One quick question. I just want a yes or no answer, then Max, you have the floor. Would you like this move? Would you like Phil Jackson to coach?
Me personally, that depends on whether Luke Walton's working out. I like Luke. I want to give Luke a chance. But if the Lakers sat up there and said, excuse me, with this squad we have, particularly with the temperamental dudes, supposedly in Rondo and Lance Stevenson and others, and us getting some stars and the allure of L.A. and all the pressure that comes with it, if we needed a bigger name, a bigger presence, I wouldn't be averse to that.
Stephen A., hold that thought. We'll continue the conversation. I just want to welcome everybody into our First Take afternoon special as we hit 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Max, get involved in the conversation here now.
Well, thanks, Molly. I would say, Stephen A., when you said no one would dare question Phil Jackson's greatness, I agree about his legacy. But I will question his efficacy as a head coach in the NBA today, absolutely, and many would. I think that would be a disastrous hire for the Lakers. I think the game has passed Phil Jackson by. Let me be very clear. He's forgotten more basketball than I ever know. I understand. But I recall he's so doctrinaire about the triangle, meaning he sticks to those principles. He claims it's because he believes it promotes the right kind of teamwork generally, but philosophically. But that's not true. He sticks to the triangle in the face of a changing league, to the point that he sent out that tweet, "How's it going?" about, remember when he misspelled going, about teams who shoot a lot of threes? Actually, the way it was going is that those were the only teams that advanced in the playoffs. The game had totally changed, and he refused to change with it. He refused to adapt the way Popovich adapted, even though he said he didn't like all the threes that were shot. Phil Jackson was saying, he said it, I forgot which conference, he talked about the fact that a lot of threes lead to a lot of fast breaks. He is philosophically opposed to the way the game is played successfully today, and I think he would be a disaster as a head coach today for these Lakers or for anyone.
Well, like I said, I'm not going to go so far as that. I'm not going to be as blasphemous as that. He's an 11-time champion, and his unwillingness to change and to adapt as an executive with the New York Knicks is entirely different than what he would be on the sidelines. I think on the sidelines, having to literally sit there and watch these guys perform, I think he would be of the mindset of doing what works. And I also think that anybody that has been coached by him would validate that about him. Again, I'm not an advocate of Luke Walton losing his job at all. I like Luke, and I think he should be the coach. But I'm talking about, as Bill Plaschke, the columnist extraordinaire for the Los Angeles Times, he was on my radio show today, and we were going back and forth about this. And he accurately pointed out, which is why he expressed his concerns about some of the other temperamental personalities that Magic Johnson had brought on this squad. Bill Plaschke said, Stephen A., you know this, and I'll say this to you, Max, and you, Molly. You both know it, because unlike me, who visits L.A. enough, and I'm here right now, you all lived in L.A.
Yeah.
L.A. has an awful lot of distractions. It's big time. And whereas you could be the star and everybody else gets lost in the shuffle in another city, in L.A., everybody's under the microscope. And as a result of that, you might need a big-time presence to offset all of that on behalf of the players. Luke Walton can't do that.
Max, let me ask you this, because you spent a lot of time in L.A. and obviously covering this team. Do you think L.A. would actually ever consider this, bringing Phil back? Do you think, could you see the Lakers? I know you don't want it, but could you see them ever actually considering this?
I just want to be clear. Among competent front offices, the idea of bringing Phil Jackson back to be a head coach is a joke. He showed that not only has the league passed him by, but that he wasn't interested in coaching anymore, really, or being in the president of the Knicks anymore. And his relationship with Jeannie is not what it once was, obviously, in terms of their status. I think that would be a disaster. I cannot believe a front office would seriously entertain it in LA.
Well, I will tell you this. I can't rule out anything. I don't disagree with you based on what I saw from Phil in New York. I am no fan of what he regressed to. There is no doubt about that. But I'm saying to you, if things are not what they should be with Luke Walton, I don't rule out anything with Jeannie and with Magic, because the one thing that Phil is in L.A., and you both know this, he is absolutely positively adored and deified in L.A. circles. There is no doubt about that.
We'll leave it there, and your LeBron Gilbert example was spot on. Still to come, wait till you hear what big-time point guard is interested in joining Porzingis in the Big Apple. We'll fill you in next. Sure has. The New York Knickerbockers haven't made the playoffs since the 2012-2013 season, but new head coach David Fizdale is confident their recent struggles won't prevent them from signing big names a year from now. Fizz said he believes that with the right culture and a healthy Kristaps Porzingis, they'll have the bricks in place to make big moves after the upcoming season. They also have a fairly new president of basketball operations in Steve Mills as well. Max, do you believe big-time stars are going to want to play for the Knicks?
If Dolan's not there. But if Dolan's there, the atmosphere is toxic. I mean, everybody in New York knows this. It's a rotten organization because Jim Dolan is a terrible, terrible owner. He has been described to me by people who have been, by multiple people who've been in meetings with him, as a guy who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room when he's always the dumbest. This is how it's been described to me. And if you look at the way the Knicks have been run, toxic atmosphere. And that now they've made changes recently. You can give the new regime a chance. If Dolan lays off, if he actually gives them free rein, it's fair to give them a chance. But his presence has been the one constant, and the team has been a laughing stock of sports. And the thing about it, Stephen A., as we both know, New York is more basketball crazed than any other sport. It's a basketball town. I mean, baseball, football, the Yankees, the Giants, they've had all this success. People prefer the Knicks to anybody. And the proof in the pudding is, in the mid-'80s, the Knicks were getting $1,500 a pop for courtside seats. The Giants and the Yankees were getting 1/10 that. And it's the only one of the major sports where the arena is in the middle of Manhattan. There's a basketball court on every street corner in New York City. There's not enough room to play football and baseball. Basketball everywhere. New York loves basketball, and yet the Knicks have stunk this entire time. But therein lies a huge opportunity, Stephen A., because not only have they not won a championship in my lifetime, almost 45, well, I'm almost 45, it's over 45 years now, no championships, but they've never had a high-flying, exciting superstar. Bernard King was a shooter, Patrick Ewing was a center, Clyde Frazier was a point guard. Who has ever been a kind of above-the-rim superstar? They get one of those guys, it's over. So right now, if Dolan is there, I am skeptical. But Stephen A., the rumors are that he may be looking to unload the Knicks. And if that's the case, then all bets are off. Kristaps Porzingis, I know he's denied it, but Kristaps Porzingis, Kyrie, Butler, whomever, that would be a new level of excitement for basketball in New York that has not existed in my lifetime.
Here's the deal, just to crystallize your point, to highlight for our national audience, hell, our international audience, how bad things have gotten in New York. We have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where things were so bad at one time that you had players, I know this for a fact, absolutely positively petrified to even text because they were concerned that Dolan would somehow find out about it, because that's how micromanaging the Knicks have been as a public relations department, as an entity, etc., etc. Now, things have changed. There are certain guys that are gone now. They've been replaced by a new regime. Steve Mills came into my studio with me more than a week ago, spoke personally about the changes that have been placed within the organization, while categorically denying that there's any credence to those arguments that have been made about James Dolan. Having said all of that, The New York Knicks under Steve Mills, Scott Perry, and now David Fizdale want to give you a reason to believe everything has changed. He has stated for the record on my radio show that the buck stops with him, that Dolan will not interfere. They showed Dolan the game plan. Dolan has signed off. He's back to doing his own business, overseeing Madison Square Garden, playing his guitar with his music. He's not going to bother them. The buck stops with Steve Mills and basketball operations. So here's what this comes down to, Max. Is Kristaps Porzingis enough to attract a marquee free agent? Here's what I'm being told. Maybe for Kyrie Irving. No one else. No one else is willing to accept the challenge unless they know definitively that Kristaps Porzingis returns healthy, which means that the key to the New York Knicks' success in 2019 is not just the development of Kevin Knox. It's just not a metamorphosis that takes place with their culture, which I believe Mark Jackson would have facilitated better than anybody, but I believe in David Fizdale, and he has my hopes and prayers. I will tell you this. The key to it all is Kristaps Porzingis, who's been in Lithuania, who obviously is rehabbing. You have got to get that man back before the season's over, and he has to show everyone that he has returned to old form before next season ends. Because once that happens, that's going to incentivize folks potentially to be willing to come to New York. Obviously, trading for Damian Lillard would help. I don't think the Knicks have enough pieces. The contracts of Tim Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee, Emmanuel Mudiay, Frank Ntilikina, I still don't think it's enough. They don't have enough to get Damian Lillard in New York. But the bottom line is, if Porzingis comes back healthy, at least for a month or two, and shows that he's returned to his old self, combined with the development of Kevin Knox, you have a chance to attract somebody in free agency.
All right.
That's the Knicks' only hope.
Yep.
Stephen A., you mentioned it. So one player who obviously might be interested in joining New York, of course, Kyrie Irving star Chris Haynes is reporting the Knicks were one of the teams he wanted to be traded to last offseason. And according to our Ian Begley, several executives expect him to give the Knicks a chance if he does test free agency. Max, I'll ask you this. Should Kyrie want to be a Knick?
Normally, I would say no. Here's the thing about Kyrie Irving. You got to give it to him. As much as I went at him for the flat earth comment and I felt he was evasive on this show, he has proved that he will even modify his game for a team. He has shown what kind of a leader he can be and what kind of a winning ball player he can be. We already know he has the clutch gene, whatever that is. We've seen it in the finals. But Kyrie is the type of cat, it seems to me, where he would look at the Knicks and go, I'm going to win a championship in that place where no one can win a championship. Now, I don't think he does it, as Stephen A. said, unless Porzingis is healthy. Even Kyrie, Stephen A., because Porzingis has a chance to be the best player in basketball. 7'3", can shoot from the outside, can really play defense, defend the rim, guard guys one-on-one, can put the ball on the floor for a guy 7'3". Like, he's not that much shorter than Yao Ming, and I'm saying all this about him. He has the chance to be the best guy in the business. Kyrie goes with him. The Knicks could potentially win a championship if what you say about the culture has changed, Stephen A. Because when you look at the Knicks, Steve Mills, is he a legitimate, credible basketball player? Check. Fizdale? Check. Porzingis, if healthy? Check. You add Kyrie and then another star who would sure to follow after that, it could happen. I couldn't say no.
Well, first of all, let's not underestimate Scott Perry because he has impeccable NBA credentials, particularly with his years under Joe Dumars when he was an assistant to Joe Dumars and they went to 6 straight conference finals. And Max and Molly, you will forgive me for getting a bit personal here. This has nothing to do with you two at all. But I'm getting real sick and tired of busting my tail and reporting over the airwaves something and then whoever it is at this network acting like somebody else broke stories. Love my brother Chris Haynes. Love all of those folks that I work with. But I recall coming on First Take months ago and weeks ago talking about how Kyrie Irving wanted to be a New York Knick. So how this is breaking news, that's a different subject for another day. I'm getting sick of that. I'm going to let other people make phone calls.
I'm going to have you
and let me
start
relax.
filing the reports with me, Stephen A., so we get it right for you.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, I got Max Kellerman. I got a new house. I got a pool. I can relax by my pool instead of working the damn phones and depriving myself of some recreational activity. You know what I'm saying? Now, having said all of that, let's get back to this whole thing involving should Irving leave the Celtics for the Knicks. Not until he wins a championship. He helps deliver a championship to the Boston Celtics. Then he can do what he wants to do. If he wants challenges, being raised in the New Jersey area, dreaming of starring at Madison Square Garden and being the headliner marquee in the media capital of the world, you have a right to want to do that if indeed you deliver a championship. But he would be an absolute fool to walk away from this roster that Danny Ainge has built and that Brad Stevens has coached exceptionally if you come up short of a championship. The opportunity to play with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, with Rozier backing you up, with Marcus Smart in the lineup, with Al Horford in the middle, except with Gordon Hayward. You haven't even played with him yet. To walk away from all of that before you have a championship to show for it, it would be the epitome of allowing ego to usurp your common sense.
Oh, Stephen A.,
and he does
disagree.
not need to do that.
I disagree. I think it's the opposite. To walk away from that with the very real possibility that you don't win the championship this year, but that group does the following year without you, to go to a place that seems incapable of winning, that is actually taking on a challenge. And when you think about Kyrie's game and Porzingis' game, Porzingis doesn't have to post up. He doesn't have to play down low because Kyrie, it's all about getting to the paint. Kyrie is the best under the basket finisher in the paint I think I've ever seen. He is an all-time great finisher in the paint. He can also shoot, and he has the killer instinct. He can also set up your offense. Porzingis doesn't need the ball.
That's not the point.
Porzingis doesn't need the ball like a lot of guys and doesn't need to clog the middle.
That's not the point. We're not talking basketball. I'm saying finish the job first.
Yeah.
You're talking as if somebody's questioning Kyrie. I'm saying it's not about Kyrie's skills. It's about there's a job to finish first. Then you do what you want to do.
It's more gutsy. It's gutsier to lead. Let's say the Celtics don't win the championship this year. And I think
more gutsy, or is it silly? Is it silly to leave that situation? Because clearly he's not scared to leave situations. He left LeBron.
I think that the Celtics might win the championship this year. Yes, even with this Golden State, it's
so
possible. The Celtics are going to be that good.
I think it's possible.
Let's say they don't. I think it's more likely the Warriors beat the Celtics in 6 or 7 games in the finals, okay? So now Kyrie hasn't won a championship. You mean to tell me if he leaves a team on the brink that could very well win without him the very next year, which would make him look bad, to go to a franchise like the Knicks to try to win, that's not accepting a challenge? That's totally accepting a challenge.
No. You don't get to do that. Who said anything about accepting a challenge? That's your narrative. That's not what I said. That's not the question. The point is that it's about finishing the job. You are on a squad. What I'm saying to you is I'm not questioning. Everybody knows what you're saying about Kyrie is true. What we're saying is that at the end of the day, if you're on the brink of a championship, to willingly walk away from that without a championship to show for it, just to take on a new challenge without finishing that job.
This is good, guys. But we got to go to break. But back to the earlier question, I am confident. I do think the Knicks will be able to attract an all-star from this 2019 class. I'm not saying it's Kyrie, but I do think they'll get somebody. When we come back, why Stephen A. saying Aaron Rodgers should follow in LeBron's footsteps. That's next on the special edition First Take. Stay here.